Muted.
Everyone to the Success Habits Training. Hopefully you have your book, and we're going to be going through 7 weeks of Success Habits Training, 1 week for each chapter. And this week we're on Chapter 1, the value of written goals. And we're actually not going to really talk about the written goals. In the book it talks about the Harvard study and how when you write your goals down you have a higher chance of achieving those goals. And we also have a whole detail on the SMART goals, how to write SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals. But today we're not going to talk about what's in the book. We're going to talk about things that will complement to make sure we get the whole understanding of goals. And so most people want to achieve a lot of things in their life. They want to make more money, they want to become debt-free, they want to get in better shape, they want to raise a wonderful family, and so on. So these are the things we're going to talk about. How do you do that? Well, most of us think the path to those things starts by setting a specific and actionable goal, which is kind of true. First, you need to write it down. You need to know where you are going. But success does not follow goal setting. It's not true. Just because you write down a goal, let's say you're at $50,000 and you want to earn $100,000, doesn't mean you're going to earn $100,000 because you wrote down your goals. That's a good thing to do because now you know where you're headed. You know what you want. And the thing is, people are taught to focus on their goals. So they look at their goal, which they do not actually control, and many people will fail because of that. And you're not understanding why, because you've been taught, write your goals, write your goals, write your goals, and then you do, and you don't have the success. So this book is about changing habits, about changing the middle column here. The middle column, what you must do and you must become, will change your 50,000 into the 100,000. Writing the goal down, I want to earn 100,000, doesn't make you earn the 100,000. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's go to the next slide. The whole point of this particular training is how to get from point A to point B. And that's the question for today. How do you do that? And point B being your goal. Let's look at some goals. All right. If you were, now let's imagine you're a coach and your goal is to win a championship. Or you're a writer and your goal is to write a book right over here. Or you're a runner and your goal is to run a marathon. Or you're a business owner and your goal is to produce $1 million business. Or you, and you want some objective or goal. So the really interesting question here is if you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your daily habits, would you achieve your goal? For example, if you were a basketball coach and you ignored the goal here, here's the coach, and you ignored the goal to become a conference championship, to win a conference championship, and you focused only on what your team does at practice each day, would you still get results? You absolutely would. As a coach, your habit is what your team does at practice every day. So between here, being the coach, and winning the championship, the difference, the A to B, is what you do at practice every day. As a writer, your habit is to follow a writing schedule that you set up every week. So the writer has to get to point B, to write a book, has a daily habit of writing X number of pages or spending X number of time researching the information. He has a whole daily system that he would follow. At the end of following that system over a period of time, a book would be the side effect, the result, the harvest of the seeds of the activities planted. As a runner, your habit is to follow a training schedule. Your habit is to follow, as a business owner, maybe if you have a sales and marketing business, your habit is to follow the sales and marketing process. So let's talk about reasons goals, that we want to focus on goals, not just goals, but the actual habits instead. All right, goals put off you celebrating your success. When you're working towards a goal, you are essentially saying, I'm not good enough yet, but I will be when I reach my goal. The problem with this mindset is that you're teaching yourself to always put happiness and success off until the goal is reached. You say to yourself, once I reach this goal, then I'll be happy. Once I reach my goal, then I'll be considered successful. All right, the solution to that problem is to relabel success as one who accomplishes their daily habits. Then you build your self-esteem on your daily habits and not your results. Choosing a goal puts a huge burden on your shoulders. Let's say I want to make 6 figures. I'm at $50,000 in income. I want to make 6 figures. Just writing that out might stress you out because that's like, wow, that's double my income. Instead, we're going to break it down in this process, break down the daily habits that will produce that $100,000 in income. That way you can feel successful at the end of every day, not just when you hit the 100,000. Every day, knowing that your commitment to daily habits will and absolutely will, under the law of the harvest, produce a positive result. So if you focus only on goals, you will not achieve their goals. Most don't actually achieve their goal. The ones that, and that's proven by the first of the year, January 1st, 2016, people will say, okay, I'm going to write down all these goals. At the end of the year, they did not achieve most of them. So writing them down isn't the key. But if you focus only on habits, you'll achieve your goal. All right, most achieve their goal when they focus strictly on the little bitty steps and principles between A and B. All right, so why habits versus goal? The second reason is goals can work against long-term progress. You might think your goal will keep you motivated over the long term, but that's not always true. Consider someone whose goal is to be one of the top 10 sales performers in their office. Many people will work to hit it, but as soon as they do, they stop their daily habits. Their goal was to be one of the top 10, and now they have completed it. That goal is no longer there to motivate them next month. When all your hard work is focused on a particular goal, what is left to push you forward after you achieve it? You know, I've worked with people in companies where they reach a certain position, and then all of a sudden they stop doing what got them there, because they thought once they reached a position in a company, that was their end, that was their goal, that, oh boy, I'm going to be respected now, I'm going to have people admire me, and now I have this goal. And then the very thing that produced that position, that success, they stop doing the basics, the habits, the daily habits, and they start to think they've arrived. And it's a very strange concept, but if you have the next goal, constantly changing, and in the book it talks about SMART goals, you're a week, 30-day, 90-day, and I make a big statement in the bottom of that page that says always be changing and moving a goal out so you're not stuck, that you think you've arrived. You're always growing. Otherwise, you're, you know, how they say, if you're ripe, you begin to rot, and if you're green, you're growing. So you want to stay growing. And anyways, this mentality that when people work to hit a goal, it turns into a yo-yo effect, where people go back and forth from working on a goal to not working on one. And this type of cycle makes it difficult to build upon the kind of progress you want for long-term success. The solution, create a habits-based mentality. So when you make 5 presentations, for instance, if you want to make that $100,000 and you're at $50,000 and you need to make 5 presentations a day, let's say, and that's what you worked out backwards. You go to what you want, you go backwards and say what behaviors based on data would produce, based on other people doing these behaviors, would produce the kind of income I want. And then you break it down to, let's say, 5 presentations a day. So let's say on day 1 you make 5 presentations and nobody is interested in your product or your service. So a goal-based mentality will tell you you're a failure because you set a goal and you didn't reach it. Nobody bought, nobody's interested, I did my 5 presentations, this doesn't work. That is when you remind yourself that you are building your business with a habits-based mentality. You accomplished your presentations for the day and you can feel good. This is where you celebrate yourself all the time. Your self-esteem is in your commitment to the habit, not the result. This creates a new normal, which is actually chapter 6 in the book, but we're always going to be talking about where we're headed, and that new normal is where we're headed. An idea that says that's going to propel you towards the law of the harvest, and it says if you plant seeds, you will absolutely reap a harvest. It's the law of the harvest. So when I do 5 presentations a day, and day 1, nobody's interested, nobody even likes it, no referrals even maybe, it's just a really bad day, I can celebrate that I committed to the step that is necessary for me to get to my income that I'm desiring, and I'm going to do it the next day, because my whole concept of what is the right behavior, the right mentality, is to do the daily daily habits mentality. So even in my book, on the first page, on the cover, says motivation is what keeps you, is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going, because the motivation is what gets you started, and that is writing down your goal. So you write down your goal, you get specific on what do you really want, where are you going, and that gets you started. You're like, yeah, that's where I'm going. And then you, the habit is the thing that's going to keep you going over and over. 25 years ago, I started in a company with direct selling, and I saw the potential of the product. I got inspired and said, I saw the top position in the company, and I said, all right, that's the top position, that's where I want to go. So that was my goal, go to the top position. And then the next thing is, okay, that's great, that's getting me started, that's the motivation. I see some people that have made it there, and now I have to know, I know where I'm going, but the accomplishment came from my daily commitment to a system of success habits. None of, this isn't to say goals are useless, they're not. Goals have a purpose. So let's find out, what is the purpose of a goal? And this is as simple as it can be. Goals help you plan progress. So I know where I'm going, I'm planning. This is where I'm headed, so I'm not just running around in circles aiming at nothing, because you will hit it if you're aiming at nothing. Habits, though, help you make progress, and that's what this book's about. That's what this study's about, not just planning and philosophizing about making your life better, but actually making your life better. And that all comes down to actions and behaviors and habits. Whoops. I don't know how to go. Oh, there we go. All right, so the other thing about habits and the purpose of habits is that goals provide direction and push you short term, but a well-designed system of habits will always win. So the direction, I knew this is where I want to go, this is the top position, that was my direction, that was my motivation, that got me going for that first day or that first week maybe, but it wasn't the thing that keeps me going, because I have to be dedicated to something daily, and that's the breakdown. That's where, if you have the big goal and you're not dedicated to the little daily habits, then you might not have the success you want. If you want to lose weight, you can say, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, that's great, but you don't lose 10 pounds by saying you want to lose 10 pounds. So the goal provides direction. You're going in that direction. That's what you want. That's your plan. But the system of habits, like no carbs, or maybe 10 carbs at a meal, or work out 3 times a week, walk the other days for 20 minutes. Those are habits. Those are specifics. Those are things that are going to, and all you want to do is day one. Day one. Don't look at day, the next 5 months that you have to do this, and it sounds depressing. Just look at day one. I know in our family we're doing the gluten-free thing, which is like, woo, everything has gluten. So how do you get healthier? We want to make different, we're developing different habits about health right now. We're doing all kinds of different growth processes, learning how to win in sports, a tennis game, maybe getting better there, working out more consistently. Then we have the eating area, then we have the financial area, then we have the growth area of a company. There's all kinds of things that we're applying this very training to in our own personal life. And it's one thing at a time. Don't try to get off gluten and work out 7 days a week, and then you're not going to eat past 6 o'clock at night, and you're no sugar at all. Oh my gosh. Maybe you just start with just, let's do the gluten, let's do it today. Let's see what that looks like. And then you're learning, you're studying, you're finding people that have had success. You're making sure you're motivated for the right reasons. All your whys are lined up, which is going to be in another couple chapters. We'll be talking about that. And so that's the system of habits you develop. All right, so the goal is that we want to fall in love with habits. Fall in love with habits that are heading you towards the goal that you have. It's what you do to get from A to B. And next week we're going to talk about the the things you control, your schedule, your presentations, your attitude, and how do you focus on the habits of the things you control so you're not yo-yoing around in emotions, emotional management, and going up and down because of things you don't control. So we're going to talk about that next week, but right now I want to thank you for this first week. Go to the book, fill out your success, the goals for the SMART goals. Fill out your SMART goals, set up a little pattern of how to get from A to B. That's what you do, and those daily habits are the key. So thank you very much, and we'll turn the call over to Brielle Hoffman.
Well, hello everyone, this is Brielle Hoffman, and wow, all I can say is that was absolutely amazing. I wish, Mom, you could go through that all over again, because I just feel like it's so powerful that we could hear it multiple times and still not fully grasp how powerful it is. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this specific presentation is because I was the one that was focusing so much on goals but didn't really know, the habits to get to those goals, and therefore wasn't meeting my goals initially when I first started the business. It was incredibly frustrating because our entire life, you're probably sitting there, this morning thinking, well, I've been told my entire life it's about goals, 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 SMART goals, and goals are a great thing, but once again, how do you get from point A to point B? It's the daily habits. And I can say I am the perfect case study of this specific talk. When I switched from being goal-oriented to habits-oriented, even though I still had those goals I wanted to reach, but I figured out the habits it would take to get there, that's exactly when I started seeing the success I wanted to see. The ED consistency, the $50,000 accomplishment, now $100,000 accomplishment, the platinum level, different things like that. So it's so exciting when you really kind of step back and analyze what are these daily habits that's going to take to get to where I want to be. And one of the quotes I wrote down that my mom said, she said, self-esteem is in the commitment to the habit, not the result. That is absolutely life-changing. That goes for every area of your life, your financials, your health, your family, different things like that. Self-esteem is in the commitment to the habit, not the result. As she was talking about the whole gluten-free thing, she doesn't know what the results are going to be necessarily of that, but she does know what she's committing to from a habit standpoint, and that's where her self-esteem is built around. So this is incredibly life-changing, and I hope that all of you grasp today exactly how powerful it was. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to some of our leaders in the area because I want to really hear what you're learning from this webinar. So let me start with one of my best friends and most amazing leaders ever is my father. Dad, are you out there? Give us some of your thoughts on this webinar this morning.
Hey, Bree, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think you mentioned it. Darcy did a great job with it, and the only thing I would mention is celebrate the wins that you have, and it's just so important when people get focused on the results or focused on the goal. They have a tendency to beat themselves up, and I like what Darcy talked about. Put your self-esteem, fall in love with the habits, but put your self-esteem, into those activities that are going to move you toward that end result. And I think a good idea was, what she used in losing 10 pounds. It doesn't have to be everything it was. It doesn't have to be walking a mile today and going to do a workout, or focusing on the carbs and making sure you eliminate dairy and sugar, all of that. It's just, take it a day at a time, a brick at a time, and just know in this crazy society we live in, a lot of folks are just always focused on instant gratification. Last night, Mom and I had a great meal. She bought some halibut. I went to the internet and I found this really nice sauce to put on it. Okay, now that took more time. I forgot something. I had to run to the store to get some spinach and stuff like that. That all takes a little bit more time, but man, it is sure worth it in the end, where a lot of folks are like, I either microwave it or I'll run to something in the fast food place and, just get it to go. Well, you can't see in the beginning how that harms you, but if you continue to do that over long term, your health starts to deteriorate. So, celebrate the time, celebrate the choices, celebrate, the habits that you're starting to create, because each day it moves you closer and closer and closer. And over time, it's what you become in the process. I'll never forget, if I could just grow 1% a week, just 1% a week, at the end of the year, I would be a totally different person. So many people try to change or grow 100% a week. No, it doesn't have to be that way. Just grow 1% a week, compounded over 52 weeks, you're a whole new person. So just a fantastic discussion, fantastic topic. Real appreciate your leadership and all that you're doing. And back to you.
Awesome. Well, that is absolutely incredible. I think that Dad, you hit on something that's extremely important, and that's the celebration factor. I don't know about y'all, but for me, sometimes it's extremely hard for me to celebrate maybe a small success, because I keep on thinking to myself, well, I haven't gotten there yet. Wherever there is, maybe there is the $100,000 ring or the 250 or whatever the case is, or ED or whatever it might be for you. It's been hard for me in the past to sometimes celebrate some small successes because I haven't reached their spot yet. Once again, that goes back to this whole presentation. It goes back to focusing on the commitment to the habits. When you're committed to the habits, not necessarily the results, then you can celebrate the small wins over time, which lead to the big wins. So my encouragement to you is, as we enter into the holiday season, make time to celebrate your family, the ones that you love the most, but also celebrate yourself. Whatever that looks like, do something for yourself. Do something fun. Go buy a new pair of shoes, ladies, if that's celebrating yourself. So another thing real quick is this whole, webinar goes back to kind of the webinar we had last week, which is the whole get to versus have to mindset. Setting habits and creating habits in our lives is something that we get to do. And when you come from a place of get to when it comes to creating habits, it is so much more fun and so much more exciting and celebratory when you come from the get to mindset. So if you missed last week, I would encourage you to go back, and we've heard a lot of good feedback of just, it's a simple webinar, but it's powerful to transform your thinking. So all right, we're going to go out to some more people. If you have a question, comment, some feedback, please raise your hand. I'd love to call on you. Otherwise, I might just call you myself, so get ready. How about Mr. Bob Cohen? You out there? Can you share your thoughts on the webinar this morning?
I sure am. I love the topic, and Brielle, you read my mind, because when Mr. Hoffman was talking about celebrating the wins, I wrote down in my notes, you got to have fun with your LegalShield business, and exactly what you just said, we get to share this service with people. We don't have to, and we're tracking beautifully. But here's what I wanted to share, and then I've got a question for Ms. Darcy Hoffman here in a second. But I love the Dreams and Goals worksheet, and that's probably the most unutilized form here that we have as associates. I literally start off every brand new associate going over that form and having that new associate fill out that form, because it's really it's fun. As kids, we all know that we have some great dreams, and life gets in the way as adults. But it's a great kind of just to kind of establish a baseline here for that new associate, as far as what can we do as far as the home and the career and income and vacations. And a lot of times it's pretty sad, what reality looks like for people. But the nice thing is that we've got an answer. We've got a solution here with our LegalShield business. And I'll just give you, on my personal situation is my home situation. As coming from Southern California, I had a nice home, very nice home in Newport Beach, but we only had one season. And I was listening to Jim Rohn one time, and Jim Rohn was talking about how, he had a goal to have a home in all 4 seasons. And I thought, God, that's a very cool goal. And here I am today, years later, because of LegalShield. Not only do I have, one home in all 4 seasons, but we have 2 homes out here in the North Carolina market. And, again, it didn't happen overnight. It happened because I set the goal. I had pictures of it. I had it in front of me. But then my daily habits, what was I doing on a daily basis from, meeting the people and sharing LegalShield every single day, by using a third-party tool. So it absolutely comes down to habits, and I just love the workbook. In fact, years ago, I actually used to send out the Habits Workbook to my leaders as a holiday present. And so that's just, I'll give an idea that some of the folks out there, it's such a powerful tool out there for people. But for Darcy, I think it might be interesting, Darcy, that if you wouldn't mind sharing, what motivated you to write this, the Success Workbook?
Good question, Bob. I feel like I was born to help people live out their full potential. I mean, I literally can't. When I meet someone that is at income level 50, let's look at the screen here, and I know their potential is 100 and they're stuck at 50, I know it's a habit issue. And so I think we had a conversation, and I learned about a study that 98% of the people follow the system, and then there's 2% that are more entrepreneurial. And I realized, like, I have been an entrepreneur since I was like 16 actually, but so I've been an entrepreneur, which meant that I like understand that I have to have short-term pain for long-term gain. I need to say no to impulse. I need to have impulse control. I don't get to do everything I want right now, so I can do everything I want in 3 to 5 years. So I had that inside my head, and I didn't realize other people didn't. So because they were taught get a degree and then get a job and work that for 40 years and then retire, and it's not really true. So I thought, so I'd meet people and I'd see that they have not ever been trained on how to think like an entrepreneur, how to think. It was a mindset issue. Their desire, their heart, their passion was all there. They loved their product. They loved their company. They really wanted things to be different. And then I was like, okay, why is it not different for them? And it came down to behind and underneath all the, personal development, all the, oh, I feel so good. I love going to these trainings. And actually, it was one of the people on your team, actually, that I was talking to, and she was going to 20 hours of meetings every week. That's 80 hours a month and she produced 25 sales organizationally in a year. And I was like, so we started with that, and we said, okay, what is the purpose of, the goal she was taught was go to a meeting. And I said, well, okay, so are you, on your card, does it say meeting goer, that you're a professional meeting goer? And I'm like, no, aren't you building a sales and marketing distribution company where you're, moving products into your community and helping and families and companies make a difference with our products? So the meeting isn't just your job description, go to a meeting. And so she got really like, wow, I'm following a system, but I don't know the purpose of the meeting, which is not to just go to a meeting. It's good to go there because you can get pumped up and all those good things. But she wasn't understanding the habits that produced the success and the tool, the meeting, the purpose of it. So she literally was in a system of going without understanding the purpose, and the habit wasn't matched up. So she had the goal, but not the right habit. And the habit was to bring a guest. The habit was to expose to the awesomeness of what we offer. And there's an example. So it's just one person after another, after another, after another that I saw out there, that the entrepreneurial mindset of decision making on how to do things, how to develop yourself, and the system, kind of the self-discipline behind making that happen. The thought processes are not trained in school, college degrees, MBAs. They're not trained, the entrepreneurial mindset. So that's where the book came into being. I just thought, this is the one thing that's really it's kind of the ugly thing. It's kind of the thing nobody really wants to look at sometimes, themselves, their habits. They all want to dream and make those little books, and it's so fun, and look at the future, but now it's the real time. It's today, and today is the day that you have. Today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, today. Yes, and so that's how it got birthed.
Wonderful. Wow, powerful. Thank you, Darcy. Back to you, Bill.
Awesome. Yes, I'm here. I love hearing the story behind the story. It's so cool, and of course, having grown up with my mom as my mom, I get to hear it quite often. But one thing that I was just thinking about over here, obviously I hear this probably more than us three girls do, more than most of you out there. But it's still hearing these habits and hearing just the presentation this morning, the webinar this morning, it's such an incredible reminder of what we all need to get back to, because I think that what I've realized in my business is oftentimes to get back to the simplicity of what makes this business work. And so what I would encourage all of you to do and just consider is, and as a team, as a big family, let's get back out our Success Habits at Work workbook, and let's go through it all over again, whether that's before Christmas or starting off your new year. I think that if we all committed to kind of going back through our workbook, relative to what 2016 is going to look like, I think that would be a great kickstart to 2016. And even if you've done it recently, let's go back through it again. I think it's kind of like the Word of God. It's kind of like the Bible. Every time I read it, I get something else out of it. Obviously, it's a huge book, but it's the best leadership book out there, and it's kind of like the Success Habits book from the standpoint of, I think the more we read it, the more we're going to get out of it. So let's commit to doing that. In the meantime, I want to go out to some of our other leaders. The Cheryl Bloom Garcia, one of our incredible executive directors and a phenomenal leader who, honestly, she's been a great example to me in the B2B space of someone who she's been committed to strategic habits over the last, I think, 14 or 15 years. Is that right, Cheryl? You've been in the business?
Yes, that's 2000. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Where does the time go? I know. I'm feeling old.
Share with us your thoughts on the webinar this morning.
Well, it's so interesting. I wrote down in my journal here because we've been doing a lot of planning with the state leadership as part of the MVP and BVP process. And one of the things that the B2B side of the house, the marketplace, has been asked to do is to create meetings. And so I wrote down in my journal, meetings with an arrow, purpose, guest. In between that meeting and purpose, I put in parentheses on that line, daily habit. So, I mean, that was just like a big aha for me, because we keep at, just like what Darcy said, are you a professional meeting goer? Because we see that in every market, right? You can just see people that come to the meeting and they're not even on Performance Club. So now we need to take this message out and say, okay, yeah, we're going to do a bunch of meetings, but what's the purpose of the meeting? The purpose is to bring a guest and work backwards, as you said. It like all came together for me on that that one point right there. That just made so much more sense, because we're doing a lot of planning and we're planning a lot of meetings. So we need to keep making sure that we talk about this message. And then, Bob, what a great idea for a holiday gift. I love it. I have to go to the website and get some of those. Thank you.
That's awesome. Awesome, Cheryl. I think it's what you said is so critical, because there's a lot of things we can do in our business, but understanding the purpose of why we're doing it and the habits, that are involved in that certain goal or thing that we are doing is so important. When it comes to networking is phenomenal. It's great. We all should be doing it. But at the same time, you could network your week away and not be strategic about networking. So, and I'm sure, Cheryl, you can speak to that too, because you do a lot of networking. So,
yeah, it's the same.
Anyway.
It's the same concept. The same concept. If you're going to a chamber meeting, a SHRM meeting, I like to take a few seconds before I go in there and think, okay, my purpose tonight is to meet 1 or 2 qualified people, not quantity. And that's what I used to do. I used to go to networking, and I was like, how many cards can I get? and then they would sit on my desk, because there really wasn't part of my purpose. It really wasn't, part of that end goal that I wanted. So, yeah, it applies to all aspects of, well, not only our business, but our life, thinking about what's the purpose and then working backwards. And that just makes so much sense, having that established daily habit, or in the networking, what do you want to accomplish when you're going to this? And, honestly, sometimes when I go to a networking and I'm sitting in my car before I go in, and I say, you know what, I'm just going to have fun tonight. I deserve it. And I don't even really worry about getting 1 or 2 contacts, but guess what? They appear. Thank you, Brielle. Back to you.
Absolutely.
Brielle?
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes.
Can I share a little story about you and your coaching? Brielle's like always the guinea pig. She goes, Mom, I'm so afraid every time you tell the story, but everybody's going to appreciate it, just like one about going to meetings. Well, Brielle was looking Brielle was going out and do presentations. She was phenomenal. I would see her go out and do, 3 presentations a day, and she'd be like going to networking, and then she'd meet people, and then she'd be setting up meetings, and she'd be going and meeting with them one-on-ones and just referrals, and it just kind of was the very first couple months of her business. Well, I saw within about 4 months she was meeting with a lot of insurance agencies and different things like that, and she'd come back, nothing, 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 and I'm like, what is going on? I mean, and I asked her, instead of a meeting goer being on her card, I said, Brielle, are you a professional presenter? I said, do you go out to make a presentation and that's what you do, a professional presenter? And so I was asking her, when you go out and make these presentations they're all interested. I always hear, oh my gosh, they're so interested. They love the product. Everybody's interested. And I go, but if an agency is not going to take the product and move it into their sphere of influence, we've not changed a family. We've not helped another company. We've not made a difference. So unless that insurance agency or broker or whatever takes on the product and moves it out into the marketplace, we have not done anything to help anybody. And so I said, what? So in this habit, she was making presentations, awesome. So that's great, going out there, doing that seed planning, and a lot of the one-on-ones were phenomenal. She had 100% close, well, not all, she had 100% close within 2 weeks. But the company ones, the more agency ones that were going to take on the product, partnership type stuff, that was a little bit not as productive. So I said to her, how do you end, so this is where the fine-tuning is, you end the meeting. I said, what do you do? She says, well, this, and she's on a consumer folder, and we, they're always like, wow, that's so great. And I said, and then what? And then what happens? And then what happens? And she said, well, I go, do you have a next step at the end of the are you a presenter, or are you moving? Are you a sales and marketing company moving products through partnerships and through people and directly to companies, et cetera? And she's like, well, that's what I am. I said, well, what action shows me that that's who you are at that meeting? And so she had the presentation. I said, all I want you to do at the end of every presentation, if you're uncomfortable about what to do, just say to the person that you presented to, and what do we need? What do you feel is the best next step, or what do we need to do next? Or is there any reason why we can't get that general agency signed today? Or just something to find the temperature. So I remember she was like, oh, she just added that little question at the very end. So she wasn't a presenter, but she was actually a owner of a sales and marketing distribution company that was moving product to the marketplace and looking to have local market dominance. And you can't do that by just presenting. So there's an example of moving a goal. I made a presentation, and that was in her mind. That was her goal. And she was doing great. She was hitting the goal, presentation, like going to a meeting, all those things. But eventually, you're going to move that habit into more of a production. And so, yes, we want to build our self-esteem on daily habits. We also want to grow in the purpose of a meeting, the purpose of a presentation, and kind of grow towards that accomplishment of what really you're headed towards, which is local market dominance. Brielle, any comments on that?
All I can say is I'm happy being your guinea pig that helps other people. No, but seriously, I mean, you're absolutely right. What you said was great. You
go ahead, Brielle.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to say with that. Well, okay, we'll switch back over to some other people on the call. Bob Vacatus, are you out there? Bob, you want to say something?
Thanks.
You're unmuted, Bob. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Great seminar, and I love the idea of going through the book. The one question I have is, and I might be a little early, maybe it should be for a couple weeks in, do you implement giving the book to a new associate, or do you do more of Bob's approach where you're just doing one page at a time and kind of working through with them? Either Darcy, Brielle, whoever wants to answer that.
I'll answer that, Brielle.
I'll answer it too.
Going back to the very beginning of, we are helping people at a certain income level, let's say here, get to another income level. We are helping people go from a W-2 to an ownership CEO mindset. They own their own company. So a W-2 mindset says I show up at 8, I have a lunch break at 12, I work till 5, a lot of W-2 mindset. So what I do when I sit down with somebody, yes, they love the product, they're excited, great. Then I have this little chit chat with them. Once they've developed their why and their game plan interview, in their game plan interview, I say to them, your present income level is $50,000. Is that right, Mr. and Mrs. Jones? Great. I said, and your goal is to reach what income? What would you like to achieve with LegalShield? And they tell me, oh, I'd like to achieve $100,000. And I said, that's great. We absolutely can do that with you. I said, let me ask you a question. The income that you have produced was produced by different mindsets and behaviors that produce $1,000 income that you have presently. Do you understand that for you to reach a $100,000 income, you're going to have to be different and do different things that are not going to be comfortable for you? Because if they were comfortable, if you're making decisions at your present comfort level, and in the future, you will produce the same income level. So for you to produce a higher income level, you're going to be doing unique and different things that may not be normal for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to work through those things. When Brielle came out of the ministry, to go and make a presentation or a networking group, absolutely not normal. That was all like, what's happening here? She had a lot of emotions going on there. Then when they said no, rejection, whoa, that almost sent her to the moon. So those things are the normal processes of what we need to do to help that person unlock that $50,000 cage and move out of it into a new lifestyle, a new income level, a new way of thinking, a new mindset, a new normal. And so what I say to them is exactly what I'm saying right now. Do you understand that you're going to need to change the way you think about maybe a presentation or a sale or growing a business, because that's not what you've ever done? And then they say yes. And I said, okay, well, this book is the book that we use. It's going to teach you how to have a mindset of success that will help you. It'll deal with the emotions you're going to feel. It'll deal with the things you're like, whoa, how do I do that? How do I do that? And I said, depending on how fast they want to go out, like John believes in the 1 chapter a day, the first 7 days of your, a boot camp type of deal. And it depends. Me, I would have done 1 chapter a day. I know that. When I was started, if somebody gave me the book and I want to change my life and get me out of this, break the bondage, become free, go to a different level of life, I would have been going through that book 1 chapter a day. And then again and again and again as I grow through my first 30 days, first 90 days. So that's exactly what I say. I want that person to realize they can have that other income, this $100,000, but the reality is they're going to have to change a lot of things about how they see life and do life. And that book is a way to break them out of that standard that they've lived in and into a new normal. So that's how I use it, and that's what I say. Over to you, John.
Yeah, I would just agree, because when you go from that, like Darcy mentioned, that W-2 to a 1099 mindset, I want to make sure I'm preparing that brand new associate to be an overcomer. In other words, give them realistic expectations and just know that as you work to move toward the success you want to have building your own business versus building someone else's business, the world many times is going to conspire to try to take you out, whether it's the negative family members, whether it's dream stealers, whether it's just, committing to the numbers and knowing that there's a law of averages. You have to be prepared, and one of the most important things in this book is understanding what you control. And Darcy talked about that, and I know it's going to be more of a topic as we move into the book further. Not the results, not the results. If Brielle would have continued to focus on the results and we hadn't prepared her, if we hadn't given her the realistic expectations, as to what she can control, her attitude, her presentations, and the hours she works, she might be back to working for someone else. But because we prepared her, and through the Habits book, set the expectations, their knowledge, their awareness, when bad things came up, they moved right through it. So we're going to get knocked down, and this book's just going to help every single person to get right back up. Not wallow or make excuses or feel sorry for ourselves, But to get knocked back down, go, I knew it was going to happen. I'm prepared. My habits, my choices, my disciplines are going to move me toward the success that I rightfully know is mine, you know, because that's what I'm created for. So I hope that helps. Good stuff. Good question.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was phenomenal stuff right there. Hey, Bethany Wanberg, I would love to call on you, but you haven't put in your PIN yet. But I do see your question, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Before we get to your question, I want to call on one of my associates who has done just a phenomenal job in the marketplace, and I think really lives what the principals talked about in the webinar today. Cap Stewart, are you out there? Cap, are you there?
Well, you can see it in your audio file. You can see who's all on attendees and call on them, I think.
Here, yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Hey, there you are.
Hey. Yes, I'm
Glad
here.
to hear your thoughts this morning. Yes, go ahead and share kind of your thoughts on this morning's webinar.
Oh, yeah, I thought this was absolutely phenomenal and really a huge encouragement. I know sometimes you can hear a talk like this and see deficiencies in your own habits or whatnot and be depressed, and I certainly can have that temptation, but I love stuff like this where you see, okay, hey, this is an area where I need to grow, and I love that because it gives me a way to where I can improve. And so it's I think lately I have been more focused on the goal, and with the main focus being there, my habits haven't really had a whole lot of growth or change. And so this is just like, this is just absolutely phenomenal and really encouraging, and I'm excited to work through the workbook again with everybody and just to learn more from it. And it really just gives me a lot of hope for the future, not just in the years to come, but even, you know, in the next few months and the next few weeks. So so I'm just really excited about that, and just as always, greatly thankful for the Hoffman family and how you guys just continue to feed into us. And yeah, so I just think this is great material, and I'm excited about implementing it.
Awesome. And Cap, real quick, something I want to just kind of share with everyone as you being the example. So Cap, you've been in the business since May, is that right? Roughly?
I think it was April or March, right? Yes.
Okay. You didn't really go full time until, you know, really May-ish probably. So Cap has incredible rapport with a lot of people, and Cap had signed up or protected a family in the Knoxville area and was doing his, you know, job and asking for referrals and recommendations. Well, this individual refers him to the HR director of their company and sent a phenomenal email. I think, Cap, he kind of drafted the email, then he tweaked it a little bit and he sent it on an HR director. Within, I think, a matter of 15 minutes, we had a response back from Lori, the HR director for a 315-employee company. And she basically was like, yeah, I'd love to talk about it. Someone just mentioned LegalShield. Like, yes, let's talk about it. Well, long story short, within a matter of, I think, 24 hours, we closed the deal. Or Cap and I closed the deal, and it was exciting. Well, you know, this is 315 employees effective January 1st, and Cap has done a phenomenal job of really servicing this group and going to different locations for enrollment meetings and different things like that. But I had a talk with Cap because this could be his first month that he goes ED, which I believe is very well going to happen, which is one of his goals. He's applying habits to get there. But I also mentioned to Cap, and as we all know in the B2B space, you know, as much as we put into a group account, it may not always produce the results that we want to, it to produce. That's why we're just committed to doing the very best we can do and trusting God with your results. So I said, you need to put other things in the pipeline just in case, you know, for whatever reason, the results aren't what we thought it was. Because once again, it goes back to the habits of seeing the people and telling the story. Cap could have probably just easily sat back and said, you know, 315 employees, for sure I'll get ED from this account, and not done anything the whole month. But that's not what you're doing, Cap, right?
No, definitely not.
So anyway, you know, in the meantime, though, you're still seeing the people telling the story. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to try to get as many presentations and especially the business as I can in before the year is out, because I certainly don't want to assume that this group will be, you know, a phenomenal return or my return or whatever. So no, I'm going to keep working hard and try to get as much done as I can before January 1st.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're still with the goal and with the the current habits in place that you've built towards your hopefully your goal of ED this month. You're also trying to obviously hit ED this month, but also prepare for what's next month, because we all know that when you hit ED, that's great, but you get paid ED pay level the next month. So you want to have things in the pipeline for January. So anyway, Kath, you're awesome. You're a phenomenal leader, and so honored to work with you. Thank you so much for being on the call this morning.
Well, thank you, Bria. I really do appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, yes, go ahead.
Just a big shout out to Cap. Cap is the one that actually did the proofreading. He's a professional proofreader of the Habits book. So a big shout out to Cap. So he actually was involved in the creation of the Habits book. So thank you, Cap, for that. And another new normal, what you just said, Cap. One of the things that happened to Brielle, happened to me, I can remember in the very beginning, at first you're trying to qualify for the month. You're just looking at that 1 month. And eventually as you develop, you're looking, like I can remember in December, I'm thinking about January, February. Like December's done, and I'm thinking about what am I going to be doing to plant seeds now for the qualifications and the success of January and February. In the beginning, you're just for the day, and as you grow, you begin to think 1 month out, and then you begin to think 2 months out. You know that what you do today matters for the 1 month and the 2 months out. So you had just mentioned something about how you're already in December thinking about January, which is really good. That's a habit. That's a mindset. That's what will develop as you start to grow and get from point A to point B. You're just getting through the day, then you're kind of thinking about this is what I'm going to accomplish for the week, and then you're thinking that these habits will roll over, and what you do today produces what happens next month. And you start to think even 1 month, 2 months out. So just wanted to throw that out.
Okay, very good stuff. Let me go to just one more question that we have from Bethany. I think this is a great question, and this is kind of, I think, timely, and would love anybody else's thoughts on this question. Basically, she says, do you have any guidance for those of us who are not necessarily money motivated? She said, I definitely need to make some, but that doesn't motivate me per se. And she said, what motivates me is service, making a difference, protecting families. How do I set a goal from there? And I would just say, Bethany, I can completely relate to that. From the moment when I started my business, and I was, in a sense, more focused on the commission, and I was, I guess, a commission marketer versus a mission marketer. It was miserable. I hated it. I cried every morning. I was like, this is not for me. And when I totally switched my mindset to say, you know what, forget the money. The money's great, but I realize if I do the work, the money will come. But forget focusing on the money. Forget focusing on all the different maybe goals and all that. I'm just going to commit to seeing the people and telling the story with the whole perspective of realizing that the purpose of our service is a peace of mind. And peace of mind is hard to come by in America today, and families are looking for a solution. Every church I do, I stand in front of the group of employees, and I say, hey, the Bible talks about protecting our heart at all costs, for out of it flows the issues of life. The goal of our service is to protect your heart. They're all like, yeah, so people get it. People understand that they want to protect their heart against the negativity of our world. All of us know about the shooting in California that happened, I think, 2 days ago. I mean, that just is so crazy to me, and I'm getting a little sidetracked, but it hurts to see what's happening in America today. So all that to say, people need our service. So my goal when I switched from being a commission marketer to a mission marketer and focused on being a mission marketer, everything changed in my business. I woke up every day with a couple different, really, in a sense, goals. And the goals were kind of, hard to measure, but they were mainly goals that really I wanted to fulfill God's purpose for my life. And God's purpose, what I felt like now, is making a difference for others with the LegalShield vehicle. And to fulfill my potential. Like, God gave you potential. He's given us all a certain amount of potential. And the last thing I want is any of us to die with that potential not being maxed out. So fulfilling the potential that God created us for, that's what everything stems from, Bethany. I wouldn't say that, I have goals of, ED and, ring and stuff like that, but those are just kind kind of goals to help me measure my progress. But my main goals, and really the reason why I wanted to be successful in the LegalShield business, is because I believe that in order to have a platform of influence in people's life, the reason why you listen to my parents is because they've been successful. You wouldn't listen to me per se if I hadn't, been successful. So I believe that God was calling me to have a platform of influence in people's life for His kingdom, and that's why I wanted to be successful in the LegalShield business, because, being successful creates a platform. And, people can use that platform for good or bad, and I just feel like God's called me to use it for a specific purpose, and that's being, for Him and to bless and serve all of you out there. So all that to say, your goal doesn't have to be necessarily a quantifiable commission-related goal. Your goal can be to, better, families in America. It can be to fulfill your potential. And if everything stems from that, then you're going to hit goals that you wouldn't even believe. I would hope that you're ED in a few months if you haven't hit ED yet, or, different things like that. So, Mom, Dad, do you want to add any of that, and then we'll close out the call?
I don't. Good job.
No, I think that's good, Bree.
Okay, awesome. Well, Bethany, I don't know you, but I'm happy to talk to you more if that would be of interest to you. But we'll just close it out now. We had a good bunch of people on the call. My encouragement to all of you would be, if your team isn't on these calls, get them on the call. They're greatly missing out. I think that these calls, these webinars, even though we can't really hold that many people, they should be hundreds and hundreds of people, and I realize a lot of people watch them over the weekend, but make sure you're spreading the word, because I believe that these webinars, especially today, can be absolutely transformational for people. So all of you are incredible. You're amazing leaders. Go make a difference today. Have a wonderful weekend, and God bless. We love you all. Have a great day. Thank you for coming on the call today. Bye.